Hello, and welcome back to Shadow Companions. I'm so grateful that you're here today. Today's episode is about something I think almost all of us experience at one point or another: overthinking. Maybe you've replayed a conversation in your head 100 times, wondering if you said the wrong thing. Maybe you've stayed awake at night imagining every possible outcome of something that hasn't even happened yet. Maybe you've convinced yourself someone is upset with you because they took a little longer than usual to respond to a text. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know something before we even get started. You are not alone. I remember one night lying in bed after having what I thought was a completely normal conversation with somebody. Instead of falling asleep, my mind kept replaying every little detail. I wondered if I had talked too much, if I had said something wrong, or if they were secretly upset with me. The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that I had messed everything up. But the next day, I found out everything was completely fine. Nothing was wrong at all. The only place the problem existed was in my own mind. That experience reminded me just how convincing overthinking can be and how easily it can make our fears feel like facts. Overthinking can feel incredibly isolating. It can make us question ourselves, our relationships, and even our future. It can convince us that if we just think hard enough, we'll eventually find the perfect answer. But most of the time, all it does is leave us mentally exhausted. So today, let's talk about what overthinking really is, why it happens, and what we can do when our mind refuses to slow down. What exactly is overthinking? Overthinking isn't simply thinking deeply about something. Reflecting on your experiences or carefully considered an important decision is healthy. Overthinking is when your thoughts become stuck in a loop. It's replaying the same conversation over and over again. It's imagining dozens of what if scenarios. It's second guessing every decision. It's analyzing every text message, every facial expression, every pause in a conversation. It's spending so much time trying to avoid making a mistake that you end up feeling frozen. The difficult thing is about overthinking is that it often disguises itself as a problem solving. It tells us if you just think about this one more time, you'll figure it out. But somehow, one more time turns into another hour, another day, sometimes even weeks or months. So, why do you think we overthink? If we've experienced painful situations in the past, whether that's rejection, trauma, heartbreak, failure, or disappointment, our minds naturally try to prevent us from getting hurt again. The problem is that our brains aren't always good at telling the difference between a real danger and an imagined one. Instead of preparing us, overthinking traps us. Sometimes anxiety fuels overthinking. Sometimes perfectionism does. Sometimes it's fear of making the wrong decision. Sometimes it's fear that we're not enough. And sometimes it's simply because we've been through difficult experiences that taught us to always expect something bad to happen. If that's you, I want you to hear this. There is nothing wrong with you. One of the hardest parts about overthinking is how convincing it feels. Your thoughts don't feel like guesses, they feel like facts. You start thinking things like, what if they're mad at me? What if I've ruined everything? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if everyone leaves? What if I made the wrong choice? The more we repeat these thoughts, the more believable they come. But here's something that's helped me. Just because you think something doesn't always mean it's true. Thoughts are not facts. They're simply thoughts. Some deserve our attention, Others deserve to pass by like clouds in the sky. What can overthinking do to us? It steals our peace. It steals our sleep. It steals our confidence. It steals our joy in the present moment because we're so busy worrying about tomorrow or replaying yesterday. Sometimes we become so focused on making the perfect decision that we stop making decisions altogether. That's called analysis paralysis. Instead of moving forward, we become stuck. And being stuck can feel safer than risking failure. But here's the truth: growth almost always requires uncertainty. No amount of worry can change the past or predict the future. So, what can we actually do when we're caught in this cycle? The first thing is simply noticing it. Instead of saying everything is falling apart, try saying, I'm noticing that I'm overthinking right now. That small change creates a little distance between you and your thoughts. Next, ask yourself a few gentle questions. Is this thought based on facts or fear? Am I able to control the situation? If not, what can I control? Will this matter a week from now? Sometimes those questions help us recognize that we've been giving our fears far more power than they deserve. Another helpful tool is writing your thoughts down. Our minds often make problems seem much bigger than they really are. Seeing them on paper can make them feel more manageable. Grounding yourself can also help. Take a slow, deep breath. Notice 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Simple exercises like this remind your brain that you're here in the present, not trapped inside imagined futures. Healing isn't perfection. I also want to remind you that healing doesn't mean you'll never overthink again. Healing means you'll recognize it sooner. You'll catch yourself before the spiral gets too deep. You'll become kinder to yourself. You'll become kinder to yourself. You'll learn that not every thought deserves your attention. And over time, those moments of peace begin to grow. Here are a few questions for you today that I'd like to leave you with. What is one thing that you've been overthinking lately? What are you afraid might happen? Is there real evidence that your fear is true? And if your best friend came to you with these exact same worries, what would you tell them? Sometimes we're able to offer compassion to others, but we're not able to offer compassion to ourselves. Maybe today's the day that we start changing that. As we wrap up, I want y'all to remember this. You don't have to solve your entire life tonight. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to predict every possible outcome. You don't have to carry the weight of every what if. Sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is trust ourselves enough to take the next small step, even when we don't know exactly how everything will turn out. Thank you so much for joining me today on Shadow Companions. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need the reminder that they aren't alone. And if you'd like, you can leave a comment or a review or follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Until next time, remember this: your thoughts are powerful, but they do not define who you are. Even on the days when your mind feels full of shadows, there is still light waiting for you. Take care of yourself, be gentle with your heart, and I'll see you on the next episode of Shadow Companions.